I was thinking about, I've been seeing lately people talk about there's another crash coming. There's, a big downturn. It's due. It's inevitable, and I always think about it like, I like to look ahead and try to look around the bend, but it's never easy to, you don't have a crystal ball. But, knowing what we know about how tight mortgage lending has been and how, all these laws are in place to protect us from getting, crazy appraisals, to protect us from having fraud, to protect us from really like, and then the inventory being small and builders not going crazy and overbuilding again like they did back in 05, 06. Like, so what are your thoughts about like a crash? Do you think it's going to be centralized I've heard corporate debt's going to be, something that we got to watch out for. That's going to be a bubble that's going to pop. But as far as like just residential real estate, what are your thoughts on that, being that we've been so tight?
This is going to go into a second hour, you realize. I'll give you my very short synopsis on what I feel the crash was. Mm-hmm. And it really gets back to, if you go back to Econ 101 and entry-level college course, supply and demand.
Yeah.
Traditionally in the mortgage space, housing, there's a relationship between housing prices and median income. And that relationship narrows and broadens based on a couple variables. One would be interest rates. Mm-hmm. So even at the median household income, if the interest rates get lower, you could support more house price mm-hmm. with the same amount of household income. Mm-hmm. And if there's only so much real estate inventory out there, there could be a tendency, hey, we can buy a house, the rates are really low, and you get some more bidders out there, and supply and demand, there's more buyers than sellers, and it'll drive the price up.
Right.
Similarly, when rates increase, that gap narrows because this median household income mm-hmm.
can
can only support so much median house price.
Right.
So that relationship's been in there for all the times that we've tracked both of those numbers, but it goes through times where it's not quite parallel. Mm-hmm. My view of what the crash did was because of some of the products, it removed the median household income cap.
Mm-hmm. Like ARMs or interest only or neg AMs, is that kind of thing?
That plus I could tell you any number for my income.
Yeah, so you took that thing out and threw it out the window.
So now my
household income.
So temporarily for a couple years, my median household income is infinity.
Right. That just makes unlimited demand.
Unlimited buyers.
Yeah.
So now I have everyone in the world could buy a piece of property if they wish to.
Right.
And many of them wish to.
Right. Many of them did.
And when you have 100 buyers chasing a property instead of 10 buyers or one buyer, mm-hmm. the price just skyrockets.
Right.
I can tell you that that's happened a couple different times. It's happened in the 70s, mm-hmm. where the traditional spread between house price and median income got 20% worse than its historic norms. Mm-hmm. But then prices froze and median income rose to get back to that traditional, and then the market could legitimately go up again. So something has to give. The prices have to plateau until income approaches, or income has to go up so fast that it allows prices to go up again. In the 80s and late 90s, or early 90s, late 80s, it happened again, but it was like a upper 20s, and then then the market had to close that gap. Well, during the height of the crisis, I sat in a meeting where we could demonstrate that traditional gap had stretched to 45%. The predictions were it was going to go to 55, where it actually did. But this is a year before the crash. We're seeing that bubble, mm-hmm. and then historically, we knew that bubble would have to close 90% of that gap.
Right.
So, and at that point, the only way it could give, you just couldn't get household income to creep up that fast. So the only thing it had to give is you actually had to have value declines, which we hadn't had in the other bubbles. In the other bubbles, you had plateaus. In this, had to actually tank.
Interesting.
And so it gave back, the market gave back, or had to give back 50% of the 55% bubble had to be given back before the market could right itself. Getting back to your primary question, what could we have done differently to prevent that bubble? The thing that we did wrong, in my opinion, is that we continued to add fuel to the fire by doing those stated income or no income loans at extremely high LTVs.
Yep. Because the skin in the game wasn't there.
Yeah. If we could have dialed back the LTV as the bubble grew, people could still speculate on housing, but they'd have to do it with their own money.
Right.
And then the losses wouldn't have been lender losses.
There would have been less demand because less people had their own cash.
Yeah. And fewer people would have, it would have eliminated some of the speculators, the highly leveraged speculators. It would have been speculators that could afford to speculate with their own cash.
Right, right.
And then the losses that were taking place, again, going back to borrower repayment behavior, the losses that were taking place would have been losses out of people's cash, not out of lenders' vaults. So the thing we're doing differently today that encourages me is that even though we're doing creative products, we're doing them with people that have large equity stakes in the property.
Yep.
So even if they are speculating on a particular investment property or even a homeowner, they're speculating with their money. They're not speculating with money I have in the vault.
Right.
And
people would play a lot differently in Vegas if they had their own money versus someone else's money.
Yeah. Well, that's a great point. Yeah. If you get $10 in free play, you're like, woo.
They're like, hey, give me some money. I'll bet it on black or bet it on red. I'm like, no, I'll do it when I go to Vegas. You can bet your own money.
Yeah. So that's my short opinion of what made prices go crazy is you took the cap off of median income. And I still think you could have controlled it if you hadn't accommodated it with extremely high LTVs on that type of product.
Right. So you think we're going to be okay?
The skin in the game makes me feel like if people are going to take losses because of a price correction, it's going to be out of their equity, not out of their loan amount.
Interesting.
So
yeah, that's good.